Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or if you're new then welcome. My name's Penny if you are new, and I have three daughters, Florence, Bonnie and Ellie, who's here with me. Today I wanted to talk to you about my breastfeeding journey. I have breastfed all of my children and I just wanted to share some of my tips with you in hopes that it could help you, or if you're pregnant and expecting a baby and you would like to breastfeed, then some of these tips might help you before. I just wanted to say, obviously I'm not a healthcare professional at all, and if you're worried about anything to do with breastfeeding then obviously seek medical advice. We're really lucky where we are, and I'm sure a lot of you are with the NHS, that our healthcare here is absolutely fantastic, and any worries that I've had or any problems I've been able to resolve really quickly. First of all, I'm going to start with how long I've breastfed all of the children for. So far Ellie's 3 months and she's exclusively breastfed. Florence and Bonnie were exclusively breastfed until I introduced food at around 5 months with each of them, and I continued breastfeeding until just before 9 months with both of those. Both times with the other two I stopped breastfeeding because I was actually going away, and I saw it as an opportunity to stop then. At the time it felt right to stop, and I just think that I was ready to give up then, and it was a perfect opportunity at that time to, when I went away, for Liam to introduce the bottle. They've never been good at taking the bottle beforehand, so while I have been breastfeeding, they've never wanted to, they've never been very good at taking a bottle alongside, not to combi feed, but to be able to express and to give a bottle if I've needed a break. So I've just never, with Ellie, I haven't introduced it yet, and I don't think I will for a while at least anyway. Yeah, so I intend to feed Ellie for around the same amount of time. I have got a hen do booked, bless you, for when she's a year old. So if I haven't stopped by then obviously then will be a good opportunity to stop. Now that you know how long I've breastfed the children for, I'm going to take you back to the beginning. With the eldest two, Florence and Bonnie, I had skin to skin straight away, and with Bonnie I fed straight away. I had C-sections with all three of the children, and in the theatre with Bonnie they put her straight on me and she fed straight away, and she didn't come off for hours, she just stayed on there. So even when they were transferring me from the operating table to my ward bed, she was still feeding, so she had a really good first feed. With Florence they waited until I'd come out of the operating theatre, although we had the skin on skin to start with, and then that's when she had her first feed. And the same with Ellie, where she had her first feed in the recovery room. So obviously I don't know, you know, whoever's watching what they may or may not have experienced already, but the most important thing to start with is the latch of the well, just, yeah, the most important thing is the latch, and it, with all 3 times it's taken a while to get it right, especially with Florence because she had tongue tie as well, which was fixed at about 3 days, but that was key to begin with, and I'm not going to say that the first few weeks are easy, because they're certainly not. With all 3 of them I experienced bleeding, nipples, sorry if that's too much information, yeah, really sore, and yeah, I'd say up to 2.5 to 3 weeks, but as soon as your body gets used to it, yeah, that all stops. I think I had some time with Bonnie around 6 weeks where it was sore again, but that passed really quickly. Again, it might have been her latch had altered slightly. She did get teeth really early, Bonnie, so that could have had something to do with it. Yeah, so number one of things that I would recommend you do is to make sure that the latch is right, because that is so important for your comfort, and also if the baby's on there properly, then he or she will have a good feed, and you will feel more comfortable, and yeah, it just helps things go a lot more smoothly. So tip number 2 is nipple cream. I never with each of the girls started using it straight away, which is probably why I ended up getting in so much pain, but I did start using it as soon as I started to become sore. So I used the purple one beginning with L. I think it's Lacinoche, I can't remember what it's called, something like that. That is the one that I recommend, and in hospital that is the one they say that they recommend as well. It's quite expensive, but it does last a long time. I think I've probably used a tube with each, and the tube is about £10, but they do have it on offer in Mothercare and Boots throughout the year, so it's definitely worth buying when it's on offer. And it's safe for children, babies, so you can leave it on when you feed. You don't have to wipe it off or anything, and it does definitely help. So obviously when your milk comes in, which for me has been about day 3, with Florence it was really sore. My boobs are really engorged or whatever, really big and sore, and like full of milk. But I think as my body's got used to breastfeeding, the 3rd time I didn't really experience that very much at all. But I did have to wear breast pads with more so with Ellie, because my milk seemed to leak when Bonnie was crying, which was odd. So technically kind of leak twice as much, which is a bit random. So yeah, definitely make sure that you have some good breast pads. I use the disposable ones. I actually get them with my Tesco delivery. I don't use them anymore now because I think my body's sort of regulated the right amount of milk, but for the first month maybe I've used breast pads. One of the most important things that I can't stress enough is to make sure that you're comfy. Every time I knew that I was going to have to feed, I made sure that I was sat down nice and comfortable, that I had a drink, a snack if I was hungry, especially in those first few weeks when it is painful. It's just so important to, you know, although it's not necessarily a comfortable process to start with, to feel comfortable so that you're relaxed. I definitely think that is a massive factor in helping for successful breastfeeding. I have one of these with me most of the time, just because that thirst sometimes just creeps up on you randomly, and yeah, so it's great to have. Yeah, it's just good to have. When Ellie was born, it was the summer, so I was drinking a massive amount because not only was I hot and dehydrated, but I was also producing milk, so it meant that I was drinking lots and lots of water. But obviously it's all good, it's all natural, so just go with what your body's telling you to do. That also goes with eating as well. It's really important to eat well. I have oats in the morning, which I think helps with the supply, and also I tended, in those first few weeks when I was up a lot during the night, I tended to eat during the night as well, which is probably really unhealthy, but it was just like an urge to do it, so I did. And again, I don't know whether that helped or whether, you know, my body was needing that extra fuel, but yeah, I'm still breastfeeding, so it might have helped. In terms of comfort, I have this breastfeeding pillow, or feeding pillow, I don't know if that's what the technical term. I didn't have one of these with the eldest two, but I did with Ellie, just because I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to give it a try, and it has been a lifesaver. It really has, especially when they're so tiny. You have to sort of lift them higher, and whereas Ellie now is so big she can almost sit on my lap when she's feeding, but that was just, yeah, brilliant. It has been so helpful, and yeah, and it also it helped where I had the C-section. You know, it took some pressure off the scar. Yeah, and the girls could also use it to hold Ellie, so they would have that round them, and then I would put Ellie on that pillow so they could hold her. I think it was very inexpensive. I think it was £7 from Asda in the baby event. but I couldn't recommend that enough. It just, you know, for those first few weeks it was just so helpful, and I still use it now at night time. The other thing is, if one position doesn't work, there are other positions that you can try to help. At night sometimes Ellie lies next to me and feeds lying down, so we're, how would you describe it? So rather than holding her like this to breastfeed, she's lying next to me like that. No, like that. I don't know if that makes any sense to you at all. Another thing that I wanted to mention was that when you have more than one child and you intend on breastfeeding, it is good to have something for them to do while you're breastfeeding. So when I didn't with when I had Bonnie, because Florence was still quite young, but when Ellie was born, I bought the girls a bag each, which was like a breastfeeding bag, and inside it I had activities like colouring, had a dry white activity set with a pen, some sweets, what else was in there, or a chalkboard with some chalk, just things that they could do so that if they were getting bored, oh lovely, yeah, so if they were getting bored, that I could just bring out the bag and they could play. It was like a special thing for them to do while I was feeding. I can't remember what else. I think I'd put some hair clips in there and maybe a necklace each as well, just for emergencies. I mean, now they're used to it and they, you know, it doesn't bother, but when there's that change, that initial change, it's quite special for them to have something like that to do when you're feeding, so that they don't feel left out at all. And I definitely think that helped this time as well. In terms of how often I feed Ellie at the moment, I'd say it's probably once every 2 to 3 hours. At night it really varies. She has been going from 8:30, 9 till 6 in the morning, so she's had a really big stretch in between feeds. But the last few days she's been waking maybe every 4 hours. Yeah, probably, no, more than that, 3 hours maybe. So I'm not quite sure why. Maybe she's having a growth spurt. Are you having a growth spurt, Ellie? Oh yeah, are you having a growth spurt? I completely forgot to say, so another tip for you: always wear a vest top underneath your clothes, so that when you lift your top up, no one can see your tummy, and it means it gives you a bit more flexibility about what you wear. Not everything has to be low cut. Yeah, and you don't have to spend a fortune on specially adapted clothing for nursing. You can wear normal clothes again. Also a good nursing bra as well. I've been lucky enough this time that Mothercare have had sales on at the time of purchasing my maternity bras, and I think I've managed to pick up a few at 2 for £5. So I have plenty. I think I also got some from Marks and Spencer's, but Primark also have them too. I think the Primark ones are 2 for £8 or so. They were 2 for £8. But yes, definitely recommend a good nursing bra. Ellie, it has definitely got easier, and it's something that I've just really enjoyed. I've really enjoyed the bond, the closeness, the convenience. Yeah. You laughing at me? Okay, so I'm going to leave it there because you've probably had enough of listening to my voice. What do you think? So I'm going to leave it there, guys. I hope this video has been helpful to you if you're thinking about breastfeeding, or giving you some hope if you're in those first few weeks, that it does get easier, and obviously if it doesn't, then to go maybe and seek some professional advice. There are breastfeeding groups that you can attend. I never did with mine. I had a lot of friends who had babies around the same time as me, so we would quite often talk between us and share tips, or, you know, any hard times that we were going through. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.